It means everything in the fucking world, this moment right here that I've been working at for all these years up until now. And it doesn't mean anything because this is just going to be the beta test for what happens next.
We talk about everyday suffering, but it's really not. When you come to accept suffering, the hard times is what you're going to remember fondly.
I am Judd Lienhard, former Army Ranger, college linebacker. I've been a strength and performance coach for over 15 years. Let's get into it.
Stuntman, MMA fighter, actor.
If you're not dead, which I thought I was going to be, what ought you be doing with yourself? And I thought, well, to have dominion over yourself physically, emotionally, you ought to be connected with these things as a human person. Being in combat sports has taught me so much about life, right? And also just like in falling in love with life. Do I have a trust that there's something that'll bring me to the highest self if I let go of all the ideas of what I think are the right way to run my life? The thing about brain injury that I'll say is it seems like it's a dead end and it seems like there's only one way out. I'm real grateful to say that that's not true. This is a thing that put me in a position where I never thought I would be again. I felt like my brain was restored to like maybe when I was an early teenager.
The trauma they're experiencing, they're going to face this thing, and like these people are fucking zombies, man.
The ego has to die every day to regrow into a new thing that's greater than what it was. It's not a gradient. It's a pass or fail. Did you lift the weight or did you not lift the weight? Consistency is what wins. Not like I did a ton of work and I moved a mountain today. That never wins. That guy never wins.
I've been a fan of yours for a long time, man. And not just your work, which is great, but you as a human being. Ever since, I started to become aware of you on Instagram, through my Instagram, liked you more and more, and I've been trying to get you on my podcast for a while. And when you hit me up and said you were in town, I was like fucking stoked. I tried to jump and make it happen. That's why we're all fucked up today, because the adults in the business aren't here.
Dude, when you did that, I was telling Keith about it on the way here. I was like, he's like, so who's this guy? And I go, oh, dude, he's this guy I've been following to fucking changed everything about the way I'm moving and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I told him he started a podcast a while ago, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to be on it. And then I was like, I don't know if he felt like I'm shining him on or something, but it's like, I really want to be in person. And, because you do it over Zoom and all that too. And so just to be here, it's like to appreciate you making the time today, You're
one of those dudes that like everyone in the industry knows who you are. Stuntman, MMA fighter, actor. Not quite a household name yet, which normally the best actors and best people aren't. So
he's got some stuff coming out though.
If you hear that voice, that's Keith Jardine. So when I went back in and I said some days turn out to be a bigger treat than you expected, and I knew you knew him, going like researching some of your stuff. And when I saw him walk up, I'm like, no fucking way. So we normally don't do more than 2 people, but I eventually want to get this set up. But I had to make it happen, and I had to have Keith sit in with us.
Thanks, brother. It's a real honor to be here, man, and to meet you. Yeah.
Growing up, dude, like dudes my age, like dudes like this are like him and like Chuck Liddell and all those dudes are our heroes, bro. You know what I mean?
Thanks, man. That means a lot to me, man.
So let's start with talking a little bit more, let people know a little bit more about yourself, like movies you've been in, a little bit of your backstory, how you grew up. You got a crazy backstory and a TBI story in there too that I just think
everyone should hear about this.
Yeah, if people kind of learn a little bit more about you, they'd realize how like amazing person you were.
Well, yeah, it's funny. We did a show yesterday, and the guy was like, I know all about your history. And I was like, and then it's always curious. I'm like, well, what do you know? Like, because there's a lot of history, right? There's a lot of layers, and we're talking on that show. And one of the things I think that, Keith and I have spanned a lot of years together, like a couple of decades. And that's not just our interests, but it's like a pursuit of like a standard for what's my next self to be, like this striving for like a better development of myself. There's this thing about satisfaction's the death of desire is an old punk rock axiom, you know what I mean? And that thing about, there's a drive in there. And nowadays, a lot of people be like, you should be satisfied with whatever you are because you're one of God's kids. And I get all that, and fair enough. But like,
there's a difference between being satisfied and having gratitude.
Yeah.
You should be grateful. That doesn't mean you have to be satisfied.
Yeah, and one of my teachers, he talks about gratitude a lot like that, and he says, that's a verb. He says, I want you to be able to notice gratitude, not me feel gratitude. I'm not here after having a good feeling. I'm here after what did I leave in the room? You know what I mean? And that kind of a thing. And so anyways, yeah, my I was born on Michigan, and I grew up playing hockey and playing in the lake in the woods and hunting and fishing and then I had a different path that I went down from maybe like 10, 12 years, 15 years, somewhere in there where just real destructive and kind of turning again. It brought me to New Mexico. And so that's what drove me to New Mexico was, there's a lot of my friends were getting indicted by the FBI, and there was just a lot of stuff going on, and I'd just gotten out of a hospital, and et cetera, et cetera. And anyway, that's where I found fighting, and I thought, if you're not dead, which I thought I was going to be, what ought you be doing with yourself? And I thought, well, to have dominion over yourself physically, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, maybe was the last little tinge. And I didn't know what that meant, but I thought you ought to be connected with these things as a human person. And so I go, well, you ought to be able to protect I met a guy that he's like a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and he was 150 pounds or something. And I'm me, and I on top of him, and he arm bars me like 4 times in a row, and in a minute. And I thought, wow, that's interesting, and I thought that doesn't make any sense to me. And at that point, you got 2 choices. You can go, that's gay, rolling around on the floor with a guy, right? Silly, moving on. Or you go, I thought I was tough 5 minutes ago, and I don't know anything about what this is. And that really intrigued me, and that kind of marked the next epoch of my life in a lot of ways is chasing that, like how can I curate this to be better, and who am I under this space, and then started competing, and who am I under competition, and that became a vital part of my life in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I've noticed from the outside looking in, sometimes you get like better clarity, and I'm not a fighter, but like watching fighters and talking to them, and I noticed like a lot of the aggression and violence and posturing, it comes from people that don't feel like they can protect themselves. It comes from a place of fear, right?
Sure.
And I notice like the better dudes get at fighting, or the more comfortable at knowing that they could handle a situation, they don't have something to fear, the more mellow they get, the more kind they feel like they can be. So a lot of times when people lack kindness, I think it comes from a place they're afraid to show kindness because they mistake it for weakness.
Yeah.
It goes into what you're saying. Like there's no honor in being a weak, untrained person, like anti-violence, because you have to know violence to be anti-violence.
Right. Yeah. If you don't know anything, if you're not good at violence, well, then you're being nice, hoping that violence doesn't come upon you. You know what I mean? If you love violence, right? And there's, a time in my life when it's like, I'm very attracted to that. And knowing the difference then, like, oh, a lot of guys mistake being angry with having a skill set or whatever. And like the other day I was at the dog park, and my dog, he's a little hot, and he can, I've never seen a dog be able to bark and with a ball in his mouth, but he's capable. He's very vocal. And we're just walking around, and he doesn't want to play with any other dogs. But this guy's dog came running out, of this place, like a little pavilion where he's sitting, and he goes and he chases Omar, and Omar turns around, and the dog kind of runs off a little bit, and then the dog comes back again, and then Omar's like, right on, and then the chase is on, and he's barking, he's behind him, and after about 150 yards, that dog starts screaming like, and Omar's not touching him, but the dog's just freaked out, and the dude starts screaming at me, and I get Omar, come back, sit, and he's tractable, and his dog's not tractable, and the guy goes, next time that happens, he gets a rock. And I go, huh? And him and his buddy goes, you heard it? I just turn, I start walking. I go, how do you guys know how crazy that is? Like, you're threatening me with violence. Like, that's ridiculous.
You're trying to hurt my dog.
I said, do you understand? Do you understand that changes everything? I said, and you're a grown person. Like, and they're like kind of getting scolded by but they don't understand. That's somebody that doesn't have any attraction to violence. That's somebody that they think it's a different thing.
And they don't understand with grown men how quickly things get really bad.
And then I wanted to go.
It's not a fist fight in a playground anymore. It's you threaten violence to a person that's used to violence, and like things get really bad in a hurry.
And even if nobody knows anything, I had a friend of mine that walked over to the bar and he got shoved, and he was with his friend. They were all at a wedding party and they're just hammered. Fuck you. And he pushes him and he fucking breaks his brain stem on the curb. He dies. The guy goes to prison for manslaughter. Yeah. And it's like that, shit happens, man.
I mean, we both have a history of bouncing, and I would see bad stuff happen so quick, and then the posturing and stuff too, and then like you said, angry. When I'd see 2 guys getting ready to fight, like if I couldn't reach them, and I'd have to call in for somebody closer to get to him, and I'd watch it. The guy that was the most angry was always going to lose. It's the guy that wasn't. You're like, that guy's going to lose that fight right there.
You can see that going into fights too, especially like lower organizations, not the UFC. You see two guys come in, and the guy that's walking back and forth, posturing, doing all the thing, getting himself pumped up for the fight, and you see the guy just got ready to go do the thing. Always a relaxed guy. This guy's gonna win. I like calling that before fights. It's a lot of fun.
I mean, rolling with somebody in my brief experience with it is so physically demanding that if you don't stay relaxed, I don't care how good of shape you're in, you're gonna be smoked in like 45
gasping.
seconds.
Yeah.
Like there's no way you can have total body tension for that long.
No.
I love that. That's like when you're doing jiu-jitsu and you get to a skill level where it's complete chaos and you're completely relaxed, man. That's just the most beautiful thing. You're in that zone and you're just like, I'm just gonna pull back. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that and do that. And the guy, God, trying really hard. And you're just so relaxed in this fire, and like just to be able to have that confidence in life is just so amazing.
Yeah, like you said, it crosses over into real life. There's a lot of metaphors and crossover there too. You know,
It's huge. I mean, being in combat sports has taught me so much about life, right? And also just like in falling in love with life. Like, what's the best parts of life? Is posturing or positioning yourself, or going, I've got a curiosity about that and I'd like to know more. And I don't know anything about it, so I'm going to be bad at it to begin. And like that's like a real character formation that happens, you know.
Yeah.
And then you fall in love with that one thing, and you go, falling in love with stuff is a transferable skill. I can fall in love with the next thing that I'm in, you know. And what does that look like? It looks like taking care of something.
You know what, you talk about how it transfers to life, and one of the big metaphors in jiu-jitsu and MMA and fighting, what I think of, it's like what we're doing here with the film. Like if my goal was, I'm going to have a film, and on August 8th, I'm going to be in a theater watching it with other people, and that's what I'm thinking about this whole time. There's no way this gets done. When you're in wrestling and you're in a bad position, you're taken down, you're against the cage, and you're bleeding and you're suffering, and you have just a little grain of energy left. You're barely holding on. And if you're thinking about from there, so I need to get up and away from this guy to the middle of the ring. If you're thinking about that position in the middle of the ring right away, getting there, then you're toast. You're fucked. But if you're thinking about, all I got to do is get my right foot in underneath his knee. All right, I got it. Big win, big win. Now all I got to do is get my other foot on.
Right.
All right, big win.
while you're
Now-
getting hit in the face.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna put on my. He took my foot back. All right, I'll get it back.
Yeah.
Just those little victories on the way to the big victory is what you got to concentrate on. If you're thinking about the big victory in the end,
That's a huge point.
It's a huge.
You don't move mountains, man. You move little grains of sand at a time, and that's what gets the job done.
Man, that is golden insight right there.
Yeah.
brother. Like just win small battles one at a time while you're getting the shit beat out of you. Like that's a metaphor right there. And then, you know, when I first started watching MMA growing up if you were on the bottom, you were losing, you know, and then you realize like guys on the bottom, and he's not really losing right now.
Right.
And then, you know, to get real deep, that can be a metaphor for life too. Like sometimes you can be on the bottom. Somebody can be your boss in a position that seems powerful, and you can do little things to get advantages, and you can win a fight from the bottom. And I was blown away when I first started watching BJJ that dudes could win fights from the bottom.
Yeah. When you see guys that are really skilled, and then guys that aren't very skilled, but that are really tough wrestlers or something like that, but they don't know much. Because there's eras, right, where guys didn't know a lot about guard work or whatever. And you're incredibly disadvantaged in that position for sure. And now you see guys that are just exceptional, that are like even really good, competent guys get lost in what they're up to.
Yeah. And that's why I tell young guys that are fighting, like really young guys too, is like when you get taken down and your goal is to box a guy and not taken down, like, and you get taken down, like your thought is, all right, now we're on the ground. Now we're working this. It's like you got this baby talk with this really great self-talk. Okay, this is great. Now I'm going to work this. Now I'm going to do that. Now if you're thinking, oh, fuck, he took me down. Oh, my God, how am I going to get on?
You little bitch,
tired.
get up.
What's my gas level?
From where?
Exactly. And just enjoy it. Enjoy where you are, man. Like, don't okay, now I'm going to work. This is where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Dude, he's got so many quiet. I had no idea how many great, fantastic insights. You know, that's really cool.
We haven't been friends a long time just for nothing.
That's fucking crazy.
It's that kind of, it's like that. He was a coach, or he was a team captain. And that's just like, doesn't need to say anything, but just the way he moves, it changes the room. You know what I mean? And just the look changes the way you feel about what's about to happen. And the road of experience is like something else. Whereas like right now, I was listening to there's somebody on Instagram, they're talking about like what you need to do for knee health, and the kid's like 22 years old, and I'm like, you can't tell. I don't know much, but you can't tell me fucking anything. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you haven't got road under your feet, and that's the part I think about the fighting and all that, and what brings us to like then film, and then that brings Keith to being a writer and a great director is the road. It's like, this road's not so dissimilar from that road, because all the road is dictated by work. How many shovelfuls are you willing to move every single day? You know, and it's not like doing a bunch one day and then resting. It's like consistently every day. What's your number? And watching that, you know, pay off over and over and over again, it's been pretty incredible.
You know, I noticed like some commonalities is everybody, they have a place that they want to be, like a top of a mountain, you know, and it varies for everybody, right? But I noticed people that have reached what a lot of people would consider the top of the mountain, they miss the journey up the mountain. Like they reminisce about the times that were struggles. Yeah. And then those dudes have to like go out and seek struggle. Yeah. You know, I was sitting down with Mark Bell, and he's talking about growing up and his struggles. And now he's like, I have to find struggles. I have to look for some. I miss the struggle. And I was like, yeah, I hear that a lot from dudes that have like reached the top.
Yeah, I feel like that's why you see in the special operators community, there's like a lot of millionaire kids that go in and become SEALs or whatever. And it's like, they're born in they're like, I need to have something, a crucible to carry. I need something here.
Some people can recognize that from a young age.
It's crazy, dude. Really high operating people.
I do see more now that young kids are stepping up and trying to give older dudes advice, older people advice. Yeah. And I'm just like, we didn't do that when I was a kid. Right. You know, we watched a lot more.
Well, there weren't a lot of guys, I don't want to be disrespectful, but like, who am I looking at? Dudes that bought an American dream that by the time I was growing up was changing. They'd had one job at a factory or wherever they were, whatever they were was the thing they did and it's like, and then by the time I'm going to die, I'm going to have 40 different jobs, right? And it's like, you're in a different time. You can't give me the advice for what's happening today. And if you have only lit on to what society has shown you instead of like universal truths of ages old, that's not a truth I can get behind. You know what I mean? You're telling me to play it safe and, you know, do something that'll be reliable for you instead of following a dream. Or whatever, and at the same time you'll say, you know, the fortune favors the brave in love and war, but you're telling me don't be brave, shrink from it, and it's like these are contradictory, and I've seen that everywhere, and so I think now it's like there's generations of us that chose a different road in a lot of ways, that maybe there's I don't know that there is, but maybe there's some value in the way that guys walk, and you can see like this dude stands up straight. Oh, that dude's clowning for attention, this or whatever, all these kinds of things. Like, what am I ringing the bell for? And it's like, usually like, you know, if Keith is saying something, it's to help somebody, right? It's like, he's not going, hey, you guys, I want you to listen up on Instagram for this. It's like, you know, hey, my friend's in a really bad spot, or this dog got lost, or it's like something that has utility for the community. And I think that's what men are in a community, is like, are you somebody that stands up, that people feel like they're under an umbrella when they're near you, like that it's safe, that you're competent, that it's going to be okay, that all the zzz can die down around you because the area that you hold is a space that has got a peacefulness to it.
Man, there's so much there that I want to dig a little bit deeper into. One of those is like people feel like they're under an umbrella. And I think now a lot of men think it's only physical. I'm a big, tough physical guy, but there's a lot more ways. Physical is very important.
Sure.
And we understand that, but there's a lot more ways that people can feel like they're under an umbrella around you other than just physical prowess.
And it must be more than that.
Yeah, it has to
because the other thing, all of us have been, everybody's been abused in so many ways that they look at one of us and they go, that could be dangerous too. I don't want, and so if there's not a spiritual infusion inside of that, if there's not an overstanding of like what is going on and feeling like you're accepted and not judged regardless, because they can see where you're at right now. You know, we were talking about that on the way here about dudes that are like, pretend they're somebody they're not for a while, and you're like, do I pull his card and tell him he's full of shit right now? Or do I wait? Because in years he'll develop into a different person, and then he'll appreciate that I never shit on him then. Like those are all conversations, you know?
Well, it's also, we have a hard time, men these days, when people come to us in kindness to try to give us some mentorship too. Like, you know, I posted something on Instagram that flew off the handle a little bit because people are kind of being racist and stuff. And Brian Copeland called me up, and with a lot of kindness and compassion. You know, this dude's a fucking writer, director, big shot. He doesn't need to spend his time investing in me. And I could have been like, hey man, I don't need your advice, but with kindness and compassion and understanding, he spent an hour and a half talking to me on the phone.
Beautiful.
And like, that's a dude that doesn't need to invest in me, you know? And how I received that, you know, I took it from kindness. Like, he's not shitting on me. He's trying to help me, you know? That's
one of the biggest things I think I learned when I was in a halfway house when I was a kid. And this guy says, you know, there's a part of you that occurs that you're unaware of. And I go, huh? He goes, yeah, it's called blind spots. And he, you know, shows me all these diagrams and stuff. And I go, oh yeah, I can see that in my life. And he says, that means that you're going to need external criticism for you to understand how to shape yourself into a better man. And if you can get even 1% better from that criticism, your first thing is to be defensive and go, hey, well, fuck you, you're fat anyway, or whatever your thing is, right? I'm gonna tear you down and say, I see you cheat on your wife, or blah, 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 whatever the thing is, right? I start to build a case. And to train my mind to go, for 24 hours, you're not going to have an opinion about the content of what he said, except where is he right? And if you can get a little bit better because of that, because you can see where he might be wrong in a lot of ways, but if you can get a little bit right, isn't that worth it?
Man, I have the saying that I love to repeat to myself: pure things can flow from impure vessels. We're all impure vessels.
Yeah, a liar says the truth.
Yeah, but it's so true, man. Like, we almost demand perfection out of the people that we're going to take advice from. And why is it that we demand perfection from all of these other people, to the point where a lot of people feel like they need to hide their imperfections because they know they have a lot to offer the world, but they know the world won't receive it if the world knows that they have massive, sometimes, imperfections. Like JFK was a fucking, that dude, he's kind of a piece of shit.
Sure.
But his words were powerful, and he was there when the world needed him for that one moment. But a lot of things he did, and Martin Luther King wasn't without sin either, but he changed the world, right? Pure things flowed from that impure vessel.
And that's why we all need one another. It's like that, you know, why that dude spent an hour and a half on the phone with you is because he needs you to be a leader, because he sees the value in that and the way you walk. And he's like, well, maybe, you know, consider looking at it like this. And maybe that makes you even, because we need oaks, right? And if an older oak is looking at a young oak growing and he's going, oh, this is helpful. Like, because this is the thing, is that we're not in a vacuum. We all need one another to be able to bounce off of and vibrate off of. And when you're tired, to be able to go, just to be able to express that, you know, because, you know, women and children aren't so concerned with you being tired, because you're supposed to be whatever you're supposed to. And so you go and do that. But I think that there's a brotherhood, you know, I call it like a picket fence. I got guys around me that I can count on that can tell me anything, that I know they love me. And inside of that, they can say whatever. And I can be safe in that criticism. I can be safe in going, yeah, okay. And there's not a judgment. There's not a shutting you out. There's not a casting away. And because this is the way that we treat men. This is we cancel. We do. There's all these things. And anyways, yeah. Not that's just part of the learnings along the way, but not different from the background. I started off somewhere different.
Yeah, we'll get back to that. I mean, this is the reason I have these podcasts, man, and this is the reason I wanted you on so bad, because I knew you had a story to tell, an insight to give people. And Keith, man, I'm making sure I hold this microphone kind of in between, so just grab it whenever you want it, brother. Like, don't hesitate. But, you know, you also said, you brought up a good point. Growing up, dudes had one job their whole life. They had one experience, right? And playing it safe paid off a lot of times. They had that safety blanket of a society. And I know you can attest to this, and I know you can too, that on your way to the top, for lack of a better term, or on your way to better circumstances, a lot of people give you really bad advice coming from a good place, where they tell you to reach for your dreams. Just don't reach too far. Like, don't let go of one rope to grab another. Don't ever, you know, my dad, and I love him. He's one of my mentors and my heroes. And I saw him struggle because he knew he had something in him and he had these ambitions, and he just was always afraid to let go of one rope because he saw his family there. He was so afraid what would happen to his family if he fell. And looking back, you know, I didn't know how to put it in words at the time, but I just want to be like, Dad, let go of the rope. It's okay. We'll be okay.
Yeah.
Like, we could live in a trailer or under a tent, and if you're our umbrella, like you put so beautifully, we don't care. Let go of the rope. Like, chase your dreams. Don't give up in your dreams because you feel like you need to protect your family.
You know, that's where it happens. That click is when you jump off the cliff and build your wings on the way down type of thing. It's like, if the ground's on fire behind you and you beat that road up, there's nowhere to go but that. And yeah, I get it. It's scary, but like, that's the thing. And I think that's where, in a lot of ways, spirituality comes into it, is like, do I have enough faith that I've been held this far, and that I'm not here to get dropped on my head now, that it's like this will work out too, as long as I give myself to it. And if I don't and I die, I'm okay with that too. It's like I have to be prepared in all these ways, like, and be all right with it.
Yeah, and as long as you're like working, like you got that job and you have the responsibility of the family and all that, but you have these dreams. Like, what are you doing on your hours off? And that's the big thing. You got to make money. You got to support things. And
what did you do while you were going to be a fighter?
Oh shit!
Right?
Yeah, I was working at a club till.
Because guess what? Fighting didn't pay a whole lot back then, right?
Yeah,
How much money they make people.
2 jobs, and that's what I say. Like people, that fighting is a great example. People think that now they see the superstars, so I'm just going to be a fighter and I'm just going to train all day and do fighting, and I don't have a job. I'm not teaching myself anything else. I'm just going to jump into this. But you got to put the work in, and then one job leads to another thing, right? Like you get a job, you just do a thing. Like maybe that's not what you want to do, but as you're working, like that'll lead to something else, and that'll lead to something else. But yeah. I see it a lot, like with you're talking about kids and mentorship and all that, where they just want the thing to happen. Right? They're not working towards the thing. You don't have to know what the thing is. You just got to work to what your passion is, what drives you, and that'll lead to something else. But if you're not doing the work, any kind of work, like I just see people just like complacent and just like, all right, I guess I have to go do this job. And I'm gonna play on PlayStation for the rest of the day or whatever. But all the people that made something of their lives, like they hour, like, oh, I work 40 hours a week. That's it, right?
What do you do with your other 80?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and I got a saying for this. I call it writing in the margins. So when I look at successful people, and it's not like they get a lot more done in the same amount of time. They don't rush. You know, like really successful people, it never seems like they're rushing anywhere. They're just steady working. They're always thinking. They're always doing something, and they fit in. You know, they can relax, and they know how to relax during all this too. But, you know, when we look at a piece of paper, we've been trained to look inside the part where we're supposed to write in. And after a while, we don't see all the other paper that we have to write on. And I always tell people, successful people, all they do, they fill up the whole page. They write in the margins that we just stop seeing after a while. We don't even see the free time we have.
Wow, man.
That's cool. I like that. One guy that was one of my teachers, he kind of explained to me about what meditation is for, and he's like, it's so you don't waste time needlessly, and it's so that you can you be alone with yourself, and inside of that calm, you don't get as tired, you don't need as much rest, because your mind's not frantic with all the nonsense of self. Like, I do this, what are they going to think about this? And most of us carry this toxic self-consciousness, and if I don't meditate, that shit overtakes me. But like if I do, I can get space in that spot, and I can move in a way that's more, I would say, under inspiration, and not inspiration like I got some coffee, I'm inspired to go to the gym, but inspiration in the way like God makes a flower bloom, right? It's inspired to become what it is. And so am I leaving enough space, or am I so self-absorbed that I'm self-directed in the way that do I have a trust that there's something that'll bring me to the highest self if I let go of all the ideas of what I think are the right way to run my life? And that's a crazy thing in between. The last thing that I struggle with is like, work hard and fucking drive. Like, I'm with that. And also at the same time, let go and let it unfold into what it'll be, you know?
Yeah, to let go. And it seems like with the algorithms and everything, and we get caught in this trap, like to force yourself to be bored, to force yourself to meditate, because that's where great things happen, right? And when you're just sitting there, but how often do you see yourself, and I try and kick myself, but you got a moment, you're waiting for somebody, you're waiting at the clinic or something, and okay, I'm going to scroll on my Instagram. No, this is a moment to like just sit and be bored, and this is where things happen. This is where inspiration hits.
You know what's funny? I like to look at the commonalities between movement patterns and the essence of things, between things that seem dissimilar. But you look at all the world's faiths, they almost all tell you got to learn how to be still. I know in Christianity, they tell you if you really want to hear God, because he talks in a low voice, he'll talk to you, but you got to be still. They're always telling you to sit. Yeah. It's the Christianity's form of meditation. You got to be still. Yeah. And everybody just wants to move, but I'm like, are you just bouncing off walls? You know, like the value, I think as you guys have gotten older and I'm starting to get older, we start to understand the value of just being still. And like you said, people, when they're relaxing, are you really relaxing when you're watching Netflix and you got a million things going through your head and you don't feel rested afterwards, but you feel you write in all the margins, but then you take 3 minutes to meditate and recenter yourself, and you have more energy than somebody that spent 10 hours watching Netflix.
1,000%. Walking my dogs is my thing, right? Walking my dogs in the mountains, and walking my dogs in the mountains in the morning. Like, I'll catch myself halfway through. I wasn't paying attention to my dogs. And I was thinking about a conversation. Or was I thinking about a thing I need to do? I was like, wait a minute, I'm here in the beautiful thing. And like to just watch the dogs, hang out with the dogs, be friends with the dogs. And then, oh, there's a bird right there, you know, just really be in that moment instead of like, oh, where's my script going? I got this conversation I got to deal with later. I got all these things. And just like, your mind is just playing, just like almost like you're scrolling Instagram on your mind. You know what I mean?
Analogy from earlier.
Yeah.
When you're on the bottom, and you're not thinking about getting to the center of the ring. You're like, what am I going to do with this knee right now?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly,
Yeah. What's the next thing I can control? Instead of going, I need an outcome to happen. Well, but can I put my knee on the ground? Can I post? Okay, I can. Then I ought to. And then what's next? You know, and then you build from I mean, it's like the build up from wrestling is just like that in life. It's like everything is that way. And that's the thing too about like, you know, I don't know, maybe it's got something to do with like Hell Week for SEALs or whatever it is, but there's something like if you come into Jackson's gym back in the day, it was like you're going to come in and you're going to do 5 rounds.
Rites of passages, right?
Right? Doesn't matter how good you are really doing. You know, I remember the first time I did a circle at the old Jack off 40 and what's the goal there? It's very clear to me what the goal is because I overstand these things a little bit. I thought about it. I'm not just in there going, it's going to be like this. And the thing is like, how well do you suffer? Because you're not going to be good. You won't be better than any of these guys that you're going to go against and they won't be tired. And as the rounds, who are you in the 5th round now? Who shows up? Are you still there? Do you suffer well?
And that's a beautiful thing about those, and that's a rites of passage amongst men and amongst your fellow guys is when you're suffering in that 5th round, that's when people come to the cage and support you and see what you're made of.
Yep.
And like, oh, like he's still trying, he's still doing that, he's not quitting.
Yep.
And that's the thing, man.
And there's a beautiful thing too, just a story about Joey Villasenor about suffering together. And there's 2 groups. We're up in the mountains in Sandy. I don't know, there's 11,000 feet up there. It's pretty high. You don't sweat. It evaporates so quick. And so we're doing buddy carries. Like I got Elliot Marshall on my back, and we're doing buddy carries up the switchbacks, which seems like you're gonna die. It's way safer to be the guy carrying the guy. When you're on somebody's back, you're like, this feels so sketchy. And then there's another group of guys. The lighter weight guys are down in their steps, and they're running steps. And that was when I saw like George St. Pierre. I was like, I've never seen anybody have a win. He came from sea level, flew in that day, and he has got to output as much as anybody there. I was like, this is incredible. Anyway, and so we get done with the buddy carries, and we're down, and everybody's milling around, and they're not done with the stairs yet. And they go, and people are going, come on, you can do it. And there's the cheerleading type of coaching, right? And Joey finally, he explodes. And he goes, and he's so polite. He's the nicest guy. And he goes, hey, I understand a lot of you guys have done this before. I understand you just did something very hard, but if you're not doing this right now with us, I need you to be quiet. And there's that, right? It's like you don't know what's happening right now.
Something about the cheerleaders always irked me, man. Yeah. It's like, bro, I'm in my own little world of pain, suffering right now. I got this. Yep. Like, I don't need, because it's clear you're not suffering.
You can do it.
Yeah, just let me suffer alone. Like, I don't need your voice. Your voice is not helping me. It's reminding me of how bad a shape I'm in. Yeah. And there's a little bit of like, in the military, they call it the Blue Falcon, like, when dudes cheer vocally for other dudes, it's like, I don't know, man. Are you doing it for me or are you doing it to show everybody else?
Right. Yeah. Is it this weird signaling that now is so prolific everywhere? That's wild. That's funny, man.
And really what it is just the walk by and that little butt, good job today or something.
Yeah, dude.
That's everything.
When nobody's looking, you know.
Means the world.
And it's
from guys you respect, from guys that man, I've seen the load they carry. Fuck yeah, right on.
Or like in Ranger School, I'd always look for the dudes that like would just quietly pick up something for somebody else and put it in their back and not say anything, or just say, "Hey man, let me take it for 2 seconds."
That's community,
whisper
man.
It,
That's community.
Yeah. Our blessings can be our curses, right? So the world's almost so easy now that we don't need to turn to other people, especially men. Men do need to turn to other men, but we don't think we do. And I know all of my good close friends, we all went through something together. We all suffered in some way together. And it's like, I don't know how you can call yourselves a real true friend to somebody. You can like them and admire them, be an acquaintance, but like at some point in time, friends need to suffer together.
100%.
We were talking on the car over here. It's like, there's this interesting little camaraderie that we have as fighters with military personnel. And like me and Tate, like I feel like a little insecure about it because, these guys are real warriors that go fight for life and death, and we fight in the cage. But I think you really hit it, is like there could be another wrestler. I don't know who that guy is, but I have a certain amount of respect, and I hold him to a certain level right now, because I know that he's suffered and he's worked to this goal, and I know the hell that he's put himself through. There's a camaraderie amongst men like that, and
Yeah.
People that haven't served, they like to hate on athletes when they're like, let's go to war. And I got it, it's a little cheesy.
Right.
I don't think, I know personally, and I didn't see other
We're
veterans,
going to battle or whatever.
but I didn't see other veterans get upset by that, because it's a symbolic thing.
I think
it's a
everybody,
mindset thing.
You overstand what it is.
And there is
like,
risk
yeah, they're
there.
doing this thing.
Yeah.
I get that. We understand that's different than a gunfight.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
And veterans like to watch football. We like to watch fighting. We value what those guys are bringing, and they are risking stuff for us, right? Like, there's a lot of risk in getting in a cage with somebody, and a lot of veterans, we go overseas, and despite what people think, a lot of that deployment, we're not in imminent mortal danger.
Right.
Well,
and also, in a way,
you feel like you're fighting for your life, though, when you're stepping in the cage. Yeah.
And I think they don't give veterans credit for being able to see that. Like, we can see this guy, even on football field, like, these guys are risking their health.
there's stakes. We talk about it sometimes, like, you're in your underwear under lights where you don't see an audience. We went to the Black Rabbit, went to go see Duncan Trussell yesterday, and he's got this little place in this underground comedy place that's dope. And it's like the stage is right here and everybody's right here, and it's like, and then he's like, how nerve-wracking would that be? And he's like, I go, yeah. And then the lights are on you and you can hear people breathing, but you can't see anybody and all. It's like, so you're fighting now under that same kind of condition. And maybe you get dominated, maybe you and there's all the intensity, all the consequence. You can see that in guys' eyes and like what this means right now. And that idea too, those paradoxes of like, it means everything in the fucking world, this moment right here that I've been working at for all these years up until now. And it doesn't mean anything because this is just going to be the beta test for what happens next. You know what I mean? It's like, there's all that at once.
I think in today's society too, like, we tend to compare what we're doing to other people, like, oh, I'm in better shape than this guy,
right,
or I'm stronger than this guy,
right,
or what I do, there's real risk and not, instead of just appreciating the challenges that sit at that dude's table or that person's table, whatever they're doing, whether it's an actor or a writer or a comedian, appreciating like the struggles that person goes through to do what they good at, that brings value to the world.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, if you're a CrossFit guy looking at a powerlifter and be like, yeah, but is he metabolically conditioned? Or if you
can't really get up those stairs though.
Yeah, if you're a powerlifter looking at a yoga practice, you're just like, yeah, but they can't deadlift 600 pounds. It's like, how about you appreciate what they deal with at their table?
Yeah. You know what's cool about it too? Like you brought up CrossFit is like, I think that's that camaraderie. That's why the most special thing about CrossFit is the community. Absolutely. And is all these people being together. And like, I remember I went to the games and talking to Greg that owned CrossFit at the time. And he was like, this thing is Castro's deal, the games. He goes, who gives a shit if Jason Khalipa deadlifts a car, right? It doesn't matter. But he says, for me, it's like when your mom is able to get off diabetes medicine because she's been coming in and doing this for a while and adopted maybe a new diet. Like, he goes, that's the thing that I wanted out of this. And like, that's, there's a lot of ways that we can talk about modalities and like, and all that kind of stuff. And maybe it's not the best move,
but that's
whatever.
Beside the point that you're making.
But what Greg really originally saw it for, I'm like, he's a smart fucker, man. And that thing changed the world. There's not a movement in the last, I don't know, hundreds of years, I don't know when, maybe Spartans, but like, when was the last time that there was people en masse? Like, when did you see women with six packs? When did you see, or men for that matter? We just didn't have people except in elite special forces or something like that, or collegiate athletes that were in that kind of condition. Now we have 50-year-olds that are commonly in that kind of condition. And that's got to be a downstream effect of that.
Absolutely. And then, like what I was talking about, it created an environment where people can artificially suffer together.
That's right.
And that's why they're so closely bonded, because I know this dude shows up for WODs 3 times a week and he suffers, or she suffers right along with me. And that's where, in addition to introducing the Olympic lifts and repopularizing the barbell, I think those are the 3 biggest things CrossFit did. Maybe 4 would be redirect fitness away from aesthetics and back to actual performance.
Yeah.
So CrossFit did 4 things for the America that we need to be very grateful for. Yeah. And I hate on CrossFit a lot because
I know
some people make claims that, you know,
It's the ultimate.
yeah, and or unscientific claims, and then some people in the CrossFit community do tend to hate on other modalities of lifting.
Right.
You know, so I don't like that aspect of it, but I'm quick to give CrossFit its credit for being a transformational fitness movement in this
It
country.
is transformation. And that's what I love about it too, is like, I don't know how many different things you've done, but it's got to be a grip. But I'd go through like Olympic lifts and get as good as I could in a short time of, you know, a handful of years or whatever. It's like, I don't know who it was. There's one of the coaches that was like, I was like, how long does it take to get like good at a clean or something? He goes, after about 10 years of cleaning, you'll be making a start. And it's kind of like that thing about like when you get a black belt, you can begin to learn kind of idea, right? It's like you might think you're surfing, but if you're not getting barreled, do you know how good you have to be to get barreled? And it's like, and that could be the beginning of like what real surfing is. And so there's a modicum of skill that has to come prior to like even really having an opinion about what it is that I'm talking about, you know? And I think that, and then I go into strongman stuff, and then I do bands for years. I was hurt. I got like, that was the other part, you know, this all goes into like, I got a lot of brain injuries in my life, but like in 2019, I got smashed pretty good on a movie, and that kind of changed the arc of my life and healing for the last 5 years or so. But then bands, as soon as I was able to start to get any blood flow that would not feel like my head was going to explode, like bands became super important in my life everywhere, this high volume. And that was a very different training. And my body just adapted to each of those things and appreciated it. But like, what is it that nourishes you today as opposed to like, what's an ideal that somebody else has that they think is a good idea?
I think you bring up a valid point, is we're tending more and more to have opinions on things we don't have experiences with.
Yeah. That's called prejudice, right? If we pare it all down, you know, having an opinion with no experience, that's just prejudicial.
I mean, we do have strong opinions on things we've never tried. And I think as I've gotten older, I've had to make a deliberate effort to be like, I see this, but what I can see is limited.
Yeah.
You know, because I haven't experienced it. And because I feel like with fitness in particular, but this everything in life, every time I experience something, I start to appreciate things about it.
Totally.
You know, like I used to hate CrossFit when I never did. And then I did some WAS and I was like, holy shit, this shit's legit.
Right.
And for that purpose, this is very good stuff, you know, because I came from a bodybuilding background. And then I was like, no, CrossFit has value. And then, you know, I used to hate on yoga until I got my ass kicked in a yoga session. I'm like, yoga is not just stretching.
Right.
Yoga is hard and it brings
CrossFit
value.
people would talk about bodybuilding stuff and they go, oh, well, they wouldn't even call them auxiliary exercises. Like, oh, nice. Do you have beach muscles or whatever? And it's like not understanding that if you're going to be pulling heavy deadlifts, you should probably pay attention to your bicep health. You should probably, you know, or whatever, all these different things. Those auxiliary lifts are going to be the thing that has sustainability forever. And when I was younger, the lens I looked through was, if you're not doing what I'm doing, fuck you, kind of thing, right? And maybe even you're stupid. If you were in a line at McDonald's, I hope your car starts on fire. And it's like, if you were in this very little lane, and then like, I think that's just being older too, is like you broaden a little bit and you're like, okay, take it easy, buddy. You know?
I mean, that's the biggest thing, is like, I think the lens that I view the world has slowly started to get bigger, and I've started to look at things with different perspectives. And, you know, there's people out there who be like, well, that's your truth and this is my truth. And I'm like, wait, okay, there's one truth,
Yeah.
but let's acknowledge that nobody can ever see the whole truth.
Well, and let's say this, is that I've been on hills that I would die on before, where I'm like, this is right, and da-da-da-da-da. And then 15 years later, I go, I was mistaken about that. And if that's true, if I can acknowledge that, get my ego out of the way enough to look at where I've been wrong, then I got to consider that what I think I know right now is perhaps wrong. And like, I got to wear that, what I know, pretty loose, you know?
I think that's in general. I think if I have a point of view and you have a point of view that are opposing, like probably at the best, I'm 80% right.
Yeah.
Probably it's more like I'm 60% right.
Right.
And maybe even maybe I'm wrong 40%. Just understand that. And we know that because how many views did we have 10 years ago that now, oh, that's stupid.
Right.
Well, what am I thinking right now that is wrong, you know? But people are so like dogmatic about what.
It's in the name, point of view.
Yeah.
I have one point that I'm viewing this with.
Yeah.
Maybe I should
That's great.
view it
Right.
from additional points. You know?
Yeah. The point of view of the guy that's selling glyphosate or something is different than the point of view of the farmer, right? And they're both right from where they're standing in that way, you know? Logan Gelbrich, who owns Deuce Gym out in LA, he's a fucking beautiful mind, man. You would love him. But he talks about this, you know, there's only a certain kind of elevated mind that can hold two opposing ideas in equal stature at one time in their mind. And that happens. Those paradoxes are prevalent throughout the world. And he says, and maybe in a functional conversation or a functional relationship, you can have different ideas about things and nobody has to be wrong. Like, I don't have to walk away thinking that, I mean, it's just how you're seeing it.
That doesn't mean that you're compromising yourself morally and
that's
just say that life is an equivalency. That's not what you're talking about.
I'm not co-signing that, but you're not. You're right. And you should take your emotion out of it a little bit.
I remember when I was overseas and I sat down with some of the Muslim people, and I'm talking to them, and they're like, yeah, what you don't understand is we view the way women are treated in America as they are exploited. Because when they walk around promiscuous, like with dressed, then they get valued over how they look. Mm-hmm. Now, this is a point of view that I hadn't considered, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, because I tend to lean more towards the freedom and let women dress wherever they want to dress. But he's like, and we value and love our women so much that we don't want them to, and we understand how predatory men can be, that we want to protect them and make sure they are seen for who they are, because we understand how beautiful women are. And if they just expose their skin, then that's what men will value them for and not what's inside of them.
So you can only see the souls of their
Yeah. Well, this was the guy, and he would, it wasn't the whole, but it was like they wear hair coverings and that came from Christians, not Muslims, by the way, the head covering.
All that shit's true also about because the society you're in, women would say, and girls especially, young, I'm a free woman and I'm this and that, and I like to have my titties out or whatever the thing is. And like, right on, you ought to be able to do whatever you want to do.
That's just to clear it up. That's where I stand. I stand with the titties out. but I'm saying, but why are you doing that? Is that where you find your value?
Right. And so this thing is this. Check this out. Go to Rio. Go to Hawaii. Go to Southern California. Go to the shore of Wisconsin, right? Go to Rhode Island at a beach there. And go to all those different beaches and look at the cuts of bikinis. And those are going to be different depending on what the social structure is of the place you're at, right? And it's like striking. When you travel, you're like, oh, and because the girl from Wisconsin will have a thong bikini on in Brazil. Yeah. Right? And the girl from Brazil will feel uncomfortable if she's that uncovered on the shores of Lake Michigan. And it's
like Muslim women come over here, they take off their head cover.
Totally.
And they go back. Yeah.
So are we an allowance of like whatever, or are we dictating, like right now I look at like, you look at all the pedophilia that happens. Is that not promoted in places? Like when you watch certain shows, it's like, there's a prevalence of pushing towards the sexualization of children. I mean, you look at a Guess Jeans ad, it's like that. There's 14-year-old girls in tight. It's like all of this over sexualization. And so then what does that do? It normalizes it. It's just like if you see murder all the time, it's like murder's not that big a deal, right? And so here we are.
Inured to it in a way. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And so what is that? So do I even have my own opinions? Or do I have a prevailing doctrine because of all the stuff on the cave wall that is inundating me all the time, that I've normalized things and I don't even question, is that true? Is that how I feel, or is that just what I occur to be true?
One of the best books I've read was Righteous Mind, and it talks about the 5 pillars of morality. Jonathan Haidt wrote it.
Okay.
There's 5 accepted pillars of morality. And we can't prioritize all of those pillars, like care, fairness, authority, sanctity, and there's one more that I'm forgetting. I'm forgetting one of them. Loyalty. Those are his 5 pillars of morality. And we have to. Each society needs to decide which one of those they want to value the most, because they can't all be prioritized equally. So does authority take precedence, or does fairness? In this case, does sanctity take precedence, or does care, things like that. And so each society and each group of people within societies, without realizing it, have their own way of prioritizing those 5 pillars of morality.
Yeah, that's cool. That was just thinking, because obviously things aren't equal, right? If you have leadership, that means somebody is more capable of leading than you are at the certain time you are in your life. Maybe later that will be you, but it's like all these things are unequal. Like it's like when you said loyalty, I'm like, well, little kid has loyalty, of course, but there's no stakes in him not having loyalty as he grows. And they're like, hey, dude, I'll give you a job with triple pay over here if you stop helping this. It's gonna crush his business, the guy that's been feeding you and it's like, well, now who are you?
And we each have to decide in each instance in our life where we draw the line at loyalty.
Yeah.
Do we draw the line at loyalty or to our family when they commit murder, when they do something wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Do we draw the line at loyalty to our political party when we know that platform in our heart isn't right, but we want to be loyal to that? You know, it's like we just
That's
each
the
have to
craziest thing to
decide.
be loyal to. Political
Oh,
parties.
yeah,
You know, I heard
fucking
there was
crazy.
my ex-girlfriend's mom was like, well, I'm a real fan of XYZ. I go, you're a fan of I go, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Like, you're a fan of a politician. That's wild.
It is.
And here we
crazy.
are.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not going to hate on Trump on this show, but like, that is weird to see people who are fans of Donald Trump.
Yep.
I'm like, well, that's weird.
Especially now when you go, oh, here's a guy who it was like what everybody thought he was. He just kind of didn't say he wasn't. And he's like, yeah, right on, man. And now, and so they had their it's like when you start dating a girl or somebody, and you got rose-colored glasses on, and you're like, people are like, bro, she got some red flags, and you're like, my glasses are so rosy, I just don't notice. That's what the fascination with Trump has been with everybody in the, and that's and on the other side with Biden, it's like all of this is like trash and blackmail at this point, right? When we look at it, it's like we're in the craziest
I always say
position ever.
list the platforms for. We have two parties to choose from. Unfortunately, list the platforms. There's like 60 different issues on that platform.
We have one party to choose from, and it's called BlackRock and State Street. They own 89% of the S&P 500, and we work for AmeriCorps almost regardless of what your job is.
That's so
right?
true, man.
And those are things that you don't know yet. You're like, AmeriCorps, what's he saying? Just wait, give it a few years and see what happens.
Be quiet. Yeah, but I'm like, man, if you align with every item on your party's platform, you're not a critical thinker. Say it again.
You're not a critical thinker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick story, real quick. Here's that'll be prevalent. It'll be helpful, maybe. I hope, anyway.
But back to critical thinking. It's funny how critical thinking is shunned on now. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Because
Well, conversation is.
yeah.
We want a soundbite, not a conversation. If anybody really wanted to talk about the Mideast, you'd be called a name for that, as opposed to like, let's suss this out of what it looks like and checks and balances. And nobody's willing to do that because, I love that quote about like, be careful in a society when you understand who you can't criticize. That's who's got dominion over you, right? You know what I mean? And it's like, here we are. For a strong pivot, my brain had probably been hurt for a long time, just from subtle concussions over, you walk a lot of stuff off, right? It's called being a goddamn American and just a human in life. You know what I mean? I had no idea the downstream effects of head injury. And so I'd had a bunch of head injuries probably, what I found to realize was head injuries was like a multitude of things that I thought was just living, bumping through life. You know what I mean? And then I started talking to a guy named Kirk Parsley, and Kirk, he was a SEAL that then became a doctor through the Navy and worked for SEALs and saw that all their test crashes, all their hormone profiles were all crashed. And then he looks and he sees they're all on Ambien and he goes, so there's a sleep part here, and I know they don't have an Ambien deficiency, so what's going on? And he started looking at sleep for restorative brain health. And then he's put his life to that. He's a real hero in that way. And he started a company called Doc Parsley, which is a sleep help thing, but that's a whole another thing. But he started talking about brain health to me. Really, when I got hurt, it was we talked about it before, but it was like always like almost seemed like in third person. It didn't seem like it was relatable to me because one of the things about having brain injury is you don't think you have brain injury. You think you got a character flaw. You think these people are kind of dickheads. You think I'm a little distanced from my family. I think I'm a little shut down. I don't really care about if people are hurt around. You feel a little sociopathic. There's a lot of stuff that goes with it. And I remember I was I saw Sam Morgan get knocked out at an Ultimate Fight Night deal, and he got starched, dude. And he was out for 6 or 8 minutes and bleeding out his ear, and you're like, what am I looking at right now, right? It's like it's a daunting thing for anybody to see. And on the way back from there to the hotel, Rogan goes, the crazy thing about brain injuries, they really don't show up for 10 or 15 years after the infraction. I go, what? And then I'm thinking, how the fuck do you know that? Like, because he hadn't had more experience with fights than me, but he thought about it a lot as a viewer, and he's looking at it. And then he'd met a lot of guys from then because he had been commentating the UFC for years by that time, from the early days. And then you see a guy like Gary Goodrich or something, who's an old school fighter who was a real legend, and then Muhammad Ali, and we call it Parkinson's disease. And so we're looking at all these guys that are damaged in that way, and we're calling it a different thing than it is. Back in World War I think they called it shell shock or something like that. Or in every World War, they had a different thing for head injuries that they would say guys were having, right? And inside of that, Kirk would talk about like a life of a SEAL, you're going through and you've got gunshots. And he goes, those are head injuries, every shot. He goes, everything in a Zodiac, when you go, duh, 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 every one of those is a concussion.
I did a podcast with Marcus Capone. And
Great.
he's getting the
From
Ibogaine.
vets.
He got the Ibogaine.
Yeah.
And he was a breacher. He, at least almost 1,000, within minimum safe distance, he experienced breaching.
Yep.
In addition to all the other stuff. And you're like, man, that can't be good for people.
Yeah. His primary job was to be blown up repetitively, basically. Yeah. And that becomes a thing, is like, why do guys, so then why, I'd always wondered, why do these guys, these solid savage men come back and 20 a day kill themselves? Like, what's going on? Anyway, I live my life and I get hurt pretty bad on this movie in a stunt, and
Fucking motorcycle, right?
his motorcycle hit me, but it was like a ratchet back and down on an angle that I was pulled in a funny way. And there's a couple things that could have been very different that weren't, whatever. And there I am unconscious on the ground for 5-6 minutes. And then I get more of it degraded over the next couple of days, where I was like, I don't understand how to put my clothes in my bag. I don't understand, how could I get out of this hotel room? Right. And I got really confused like the next day, and I was supposed to travel, and I was like, maybe I should stay. And then I called the front desk and I was like, hey, could I stay a couple extra nights? They go, we're sold out, but you could go to our sister hotel across town. And I go, how would I get my stuff from here to a car to go? I can't, I don't know how to navigate that. And all that part of the function was gone in my head. The next day, and I go, I better just travel. Antal Khalik was a friend of mine that was on the show, and we were supposed to travel back that day. So I just got with Antal and he helped me. And then I got into hyperbaric chambers the next day. My girlfriend had researched and found that hyperbarics, that there was a football player that had they said you got early onset Alzheimer's, and he's like 50 years old, and he's like, I don't believe that could be true. And maybe if I could push like oxygen and blood into the deep recesses of my tissue, I could get better. And that's what he found with hyperbarics. And so there was this protocol he set up, and I started on that. And it was but it had been years. Anyway, long and short of it is like, and you get better for like a year, you start feeling a little better, and then you do something that is a nothing thing, and then you're set right back on the couch again. And I'm pretty sure I got to kill myself, because now anytime you ask me how I'm doing, it's a complaint, and I'm not a complaint kind of guy. And fucking you start to go, what the fuck am I? I've undone myself, and I don't recognize me, and I got to kill myself. And Shane Dorian, through just luck and happenstance, he got a hold of me, and he was with a guy at a place called Brain Treatment Center, and they do MERT therapy, where they shoot magnets in your head. And he goes, dude, you got to come out here, man. My wife just told me that you were like da-da-da-da, and because we talked to a friend in common, this guy Dozer, and he called, and anyway, Dozer was like, well, what are you doing? And I go, it's just COVID times, nothing, just sitting on the couch. I said, I sob a lot, and because I just have uncontrollable tears all the time, and it's not like every day for hours. It was a trip. And I said, I went for a ride in the truck last night and took Hank with me and my pistol, looking for courage to shoot myself in the chest. And then I watched Netflix, and I'm going to try to eat later. And I go, what are you doing? And it was like that kind of conversation.
Yeah, exactly,
and then, Shane called me minutes after that, and I was like, wow, it's weird Shane's calling me. I couldn't put that to get all that stuff. My mom came over to the house, and she goes, and I said, I'm going to go to this place tomorrow in Newport Beach, and they're going to maybe help me. I don't know. And she says, I'm so glad you got hurt. And I go, why are you glad I got? She says, because I've been watching you darken for the last 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
And I couldn't put a finger on it, and you would have never got help. And now you're looking for help. And I think you've been hurt for a long time, Tate. And until I started getting better, I didn't realize how true that was, that I'd been hurt for way longer than I thought, because it's subtle.
Yeah.
And it looks like character shifts. It looks like a lot of different things, So I got a different kind of empathy for guys that I go, oh, he's a dickhead. And I go, no, he's fucking hurt. That guy's damaged in a way that you never recognized. And so, and the MERT, it helped me a lot, but it wasn't the whole deal. I'd had stem cells. I tried a lot of things, and I threw everything. I'd be in a cold bath every morning to stop the vibration in my head, because it was noisy right when I woke up. It was like, wah, like fucking right. And it was horrible. And And so the ice bath would help that. And anyways, I got, Kirk took me out to a thing that Vets was doing, Vets Exploring Treatment Solutions, Marcus's organization on Coronado Island. And I went and I heard these guys talk, and I thought, wow. And I thought, that's nice that they're doing something for these guys. Here's and who is it? It ain't the people that put you in war. It's your brothers that are going to fucking pull you out of the mud, And I thought, and I was cool being in that room. There's like 500 people in the room. I'm like, this is the most capable room I ever been in my life. You know what I mean? I was like, this is wild.
So did you get Ibogaine treatment or?
Yeah. And so it wasn't until
I didn't even know that. I'm going to do that in less than a month. I'm going down to Mexico, but I didn't know.
Henry Berkowitz was a friend of mine, and he was a 6-team guy, a sniper, and he came back and he went to business school, and he became the guy that did all the books for vets and stuff like that, and then for Ambio, and he helped them a lot. And he says, man, I can get you help, Tate. And we'd got to be friends through Kirk, and because he worked with Kirk also. And so I went down and I had the experience of Ibogaine, and it was everything's life. I had some life altering tacos the other night. Everything's life altering nowadays, but like this is a thing that put me in a position where I never thought I would be again. I felt like my brain was restored to like maybe when I was an early teenager or something, like in a way that I felt like safe and like confident in my thoughts, and I could, and depression lifted and all this kind of stuff. So much so that then when I got back, I said, bro, because Keith, when he's on a plane, his fucking head's gonna hurt for 4 days after he's off the plane, and these are people that are not complainers, and that about stuff that's going on with them, is like, you got to get free too, and so it's a thing that if you're at the end of it like that, and you tried a lot of things and you're struggling, there's the thing about brain injury that I'll say is it seems like it's a dead end, and it seems like there's only one way out, and I'm real grateful to say that that's not true.
Man, I had no idea you had gotten Ibogaine treatment, and it's crazy because I'm getting ready to get and try it in less than a month, and I'm very hopeful for some of the things I'm going through. And I had no idea how many of the dudes I'd served with had gotten it, and their positive experiences with it, until I started talking to my platoon sergeant, and he starts rattling off names of guys we served with that had really struggled and were day by day thinking about committing suicide, and then total 180-degree shift.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, what did you think about it?
Yeah, it was it's pretty cool. Like when you go there, it's crazy.
And the place we went, just so everybody you're listening, is a place called Ambio, and this guy Trevor runs it, who got free with Ibogaine in Canada, and then he wanted to express it to other people that were really suffering, and he found far-reaching benefits for people. I mean, there are people that have been trafficked, that have been ritually raped and abused for years, and like lived in a dog cage type shit. Vets, combat athletes, football players, which are combat athletes.
Yeah, when you get there, it's crazy though, right, Tate? Like, I remember on the bus to pick us up all the way there, and like you're there with like 4 or 5 other people, and then the trauma they're experiencing, they're going to face this thing, and like these people are fucking zombies, man. Like it's really, like it's dead. These people have no life in their eyes. It's dead, and you're going in this thing together. And from that to the experience 4 days later, and you see a picture before and after about how everybody, their fucking eyes are letting up. They're real humans all of a sudden. It's crazy.
That's so funny you say that. When I first met Marcus Capone, the first thing, because I'd met a bunch of Tier 1 operators before, in the commonality, a lot of them have dead eyes. They're really nice and polite. You can tell they're still very intelligent, well-spoken, but their eyes seem dead, right? And Marcus Capone walks in. I knew he was in SEAL Team 6, and he had like bright eyes. That's the first thing I noticed. I'm like, this dude does not look like he was in a Tier 1 unit. And then that's a compliment, because he looks like he has a lot of life left in him. Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing too, because those eyes you look at and you're like, when we talk about that umbrella, it's like, it's not safe to not keep my eye on this guy. It's like people that you feel like that around, that then are shifted, and you're like, I would trust him with anything. And it becomes like, it's fucking wild, man.
What's cool about Ibogaine too is it's not a recreation. It's not like ayahuasca. It's not like you're going down to a yurt somewhere and just like do.
There's a lot of stuff that's like spiritual tourism, I call it, but like this ain't that.
Yeah, it's definitely.
It's not always a pleasant experience. You go there just to get hot.
Oh, here's my experience. I was like, my ego got the best of me during the deal. Like, your head goes crazy, and you go down. You start doing the things, and you're on the blank. People are heaving, and people are having troubles. I hear people crying and all that, and like, you know what, like it's not even that bad. Like, I'm kind of enjoying this, and my ego was like, well, I'm going to tell Tate, man, this was really easy. I had a blast and all the things. I felt really good and warm and comfortable and all that stuff. When my ego was having all these thoughts, like, there's some boom, it fucking hit me, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm heaving, I'm doing all the stuff, and I'm seeing all these things and whatever. I think what it does, it was amazing. Like, your head, what's crazy about it, they say you can sleep through the whole thing and not experience anything, but they did a study in Stanford, you're reconnecting neurons in your brain and all that. And so that's happening. But at the same time, like there's this force, this spirit that's with you, and like kind of shows you what you're available to see and know at that time, right? You might want to go there experiencing one thing, but it's going to show you another thing. And it showed light on a lot of things, like why my entire life, like, I've always fallen short of everything that I've done. I think I fought in the UFC and all that. I've never been a champion. I was good enough to be a champion. I won all the fights I was supposed to lose and lost the fights I was supposed to win, right? Things like that. And that carries through all other aspects of my life. And so coming out, this kind of a superficial thing, I guess, but coming out of that, I think I come out in July, and I just had this clarity in my life and this confidence I never had before, where August I wrote this screenplay that we're talking about, and I shot it just a few months later in December. And like, it all just happened bam, 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 like that. And it's like the universe was conspiring to make my life work the way I've been setting it forth the whole time, and show me the way I've been holding myself back. And that's a PTSD aspect on it. You hear from me, like, whatever demons you're bringing into that, it's going to show you your demons.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to force to deal with your demons. I had to meet my little 6-year-old self to walk me through it, honestly. With the 5-MeO DMT, that's when I really got the Ibogaine not kicked my ass for. I was literally on the ground for like 20 hours or something like that. And then the quick turnaround, I went to sleep and got up, and we're going to 5-MeO. I don't know if I can handle this, because I fought Ibogaine the whole way, because we have this masculine, and like, I'm not going to let it, just like weird fighting it.
There's a thing where you gotta, you let it happen to you, or you fight it. You're like, I'm not going to let this take me. And there's that, you're the only person I ever talked to about
this.
But yep. And like that, we talk about, like, it'd be great to go back and be really in the letting go. Because it's like playing with an opponent. Yeah. It's like, I'm going to feel you out for the first round and see what it's like. And you do that. It's wild, dude. It's wild.
Yeah. So then the 5-MeO DMT, like, right away, I didn't think I was ready for that. And I knew, because I knew what it was. And I knew, like, I'm not going to be able to stop this and control this. Like, I felt like I was wrong, but I felt like I was able to control the Ibogaine a little bit. But man, so you do that, you go back and you go on, and I stopped it. And I start to go back, and I stopped it. I started going, and I stopped it. I felt like I didn't breathe for like 5 minutes. And then finally I started to go on it. And then before I stopped it, I saw my little 6-year-old self standing there, and I just like, and I let it go. And I was able to have a conversation with that guy and whatever, and work some stuff out there. And had a few moments, like, I sobbed, like, I don't cry, like, I sobbed like a son of a bitch. I mean, when I came out, I was trying to, did you guys hear that? Oh, yeah. It's a weird kind of crying mixed with laughing, mixed with crying, mixed with laughing and all that. And then, so I didn't know if anything really helped me until the morning when we left. We went to San Diego, and I'm going to a coffee shop, and I'm walking in the coffee, I go to the bathroom, and the mirror catches me. And I look at myself in the mirror, and like, wow, for the first time, I really saw myself. I saw my little, like, 6-year-old self, like the person of what really was me, instead of this mask that we put on.
Yeah. And I'm able to lament that and go, you poor little the stuff I made you carry. You didn't
100%.
need to fucking carry all that, man.
Yeah.
All that.
Yeah.
You know, I have a 9-year-old son, and I just look at him and, like, you know, innocent and happy, and his heart's open, and there's like a courage that comes with that. He's not afraid of things.
Yeah, I love when you put his quotes up.
Yeah, oh my God. The things he says are so pure and real, and it just terrifies me that he's going to lose it, that the world will take it from him. I'm just trying to protect that in him, you know. And I never thought as a dad, because, you know, when you're younger, I'm going to teach him to be a man. I'm going to teach him to be tough, have response, all this stuff. It's like, I just want to teach him to hang on to his child.
Yeah.
And the desperation that comes with want, and you know it's impossible fully. You know, I can't do it for him. I can't protect my son from the world.
Yeah.
And there's a fear and a desperation there because I know what the world did to me. I've seen what the world did to my dad and other men in my life, and it's just like, not him. And a part of me is just committed to protect him, and part of me just knows that I can, you know. Yeah. And all I want to do, well, when he's with me, I can control what I can control. I'm going to protect it when he's with me. Yeah. And I view like that as my main role as a dad. And I know a lot of people disagree with me, and they're like, you have to be teaching him to be tough and all this stuff. I'm like, I don't know, man, because I see you do it with your son. It just looks like criticism, like you're picking on him.
Life will do that.
Life will do it, man.
Life will do that. What I think that your job is to make sure that he knows he's loved and cared for, that you're loved and valued. You have a value innately. You're loved innately. It doesn't matter how you move. And in that, life will beat you up and you'll be able to hold on to that. Like, I think that that's the nourishment, man.
It's funny how, like, we're all in the same, you grow up a certain way and we have this masculine energy, and if that's not catered to, like wild shit's going to happen to your life. And that's why we gravitated towards sports, and I'm sure you did too, and military, and finding that those rites of passages and learning how to do those suffering things. Like, more and more you see kids in in middle school and high school going to wrestling. Like, why would you want to do that? That sucks. Like, why would you want to play with your friends and play video games and all that? But like, we have this desire, this thing inside of us that we need to make ourselves suffer and accomplish and all that. And I think that's what we give to kids, is like give them the avenue. Like, I wish somebody, when I was younger, when I was having these issues when I was really young, is let's go to a karate or something, anything like that, to get that aggression out, to learn how to deal with that aggression and all that.
Not only that, but like how to instill pride. You know, there's this one young guy that I got that I just fucking pushed into, like, and his weakness has come up against the world. And I've been for a year going, you know, a guy that does jujitsu that you could, how come I haven't progressed in the last year, was the talk we had a couple weeks ago. And I go, what have you stuck to that's new for the last year? Like, what have you followed through with? And I mean, you're just floating through life, but you could be adopting new development and skill sets and stuff. And anyway, he came to jiu-jitsu like 4 nights a week for the last 2 weeks or whatever, right? And he missed one day. I go, hey, where are you at? And he goes, I didn't want to talk to you about it, but I was just, man, I was so sore, and I was sore in a way that I hadn't been sore. And I go, yeah, it'll do that. It's like you're compressed in ways that you're not used to. You're fucking tense in ways you're not, like, all the things. And he goes, yeah, I never been pushed like that before. And I said, imagine if you never were and who you would be. And I said, but regardless of all the stuff about downstream, how did you feel when you went home afterwards and you went to class after? He goes, I felt like proud of myself. I was elated. And I go, and how'd you sleep? He goes, I slept great. And I go, those are metrics that are right in that same day. Let's recreate that again and again and again. And anything else is a robbery from yourself. You're a thief.
The biggest thing you did to him, which is so huge, is where he didn't come that day. Hey, where were you at? Yeah. You were missed.
Yeah.
That is just, that's so monumental.
It's huge.
That is so huge.
And that's a tribe. Right. That's the community. That's what I'm, whatever it is, like whatever little part I've had in guys' lives because of sport in that way, I'm glad that those bits have been left, that there's a couple guys I got that got classes and got students and all, and they're giving that and that's all downstream.
You're leaving waves in this world.
It's fucking cool, man. It's the coolest thing there is that you matter.
And we know we need a tribe, we know innately. And it's sad to see the ways men especially, but everyone is going about trying to find that tribe. They're like desperate to find it.
Well, all we know is what we don't like. All we know is like, I don't like your politics. I don't like the way you think about this or that. We don't ever, is it uncomfortable to be around somebody that thinks differently than you? That discomfort's your problem.
That goes into, all too often now we're basing our tribes around what we don't like together.
Around weakness.
Like, I don't like this and you guys don't like this. Let's get together.
That's right.
This is our tribe and it's based on what we don't like.
Until there will be a person that is just a little bit outside of that.
Just real quick, I don't care what the fuck your politics is, because whatever you believe in politics, you're a good person. I know there's truth in there somewhere. Mm-hmm. I might be on the completely other end, but I don't give a fuck.
And really, I think the thing is when you're face to face with people, people's concerns about how things are going in that way aren't a lot different.
Yeah.
You know, mostly people aren't for genocide. Mostly people aren't for high taxation. You know, I mean, mostly, but people get fooled easily. And it's like, here's another thing where sport transcends and goes into life. I think, was it Mark Twain that said something like, it's easier to lie to somebody than to convince them that they were lied to?
Oh man, I haven't heard that. That's a great
something
one.
like that, right? And so guys would come in the early days, right? And they'd be like, dude, I've been doing Kung Fu for the last 26 years. And we're like, your Kung Fu is no good here. You know what I mean? And
that should be a sign on the door. Your Kung Fu is no good here.
And they were, well, let's see. Because I want to see if what I've been doing is hokum or not. And I feel like I've got to, cool, man. I got a 145er. I got a 170er. I'm 220. Like what, like, and all, like whatever party you want. And I said, I promise nobody will hurt you. And you can do whatever you'd like. And so, you know, he picks a 145er and that guy takes him down and arm bars him. And he goes, well, I could have a groin struck. Well, let's try it again. And please groin strike him. And we go through the whole thing and you do that. And I've done that with, I don't know, 100 guys. You know, how many guys come in the gym and they already know stuff. And the guy that can go and say, my Kung Fu is no good and start to do jiu-jitsu and learn, that's a rare guy because they'd rather hang on to the fantasy that I've been walking this road and it's valuable. I didn't get fooled. I'm not an idiot. Well, maybe let's consider that you might be.
I have these 7 fears, right? Like the 7 base human fears. And one of the fears is to know. We're afraid to know. You know, we're afraid to know if we're not good enough. So we create these fantasies and we make excuses in order to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
That's what an excuse is. It's an attempt to protect ourselves, protect our ego, which is important. Because then if we don't make that excuse, we're left with one choice. Admit that we're inferior and be okay with staying that way, or dedicate ourselves to getting better. And it's easier just to make an excuse and lie to ourselves.
And mostly the excuse is a lie. Almost always. If you say, oh, I have an excuse, or a reason is another prettier word for an excuse, it's generally rooted in a lie. And if I can get the lies out of the way about who I'm not, you know, like because I walk through with a face that I want the world to see that I am. And then I know I don't really deserve it. Why? Because I'm 12 years old. I'm supposed to know how to flamenco dance. I'm fly fish, do karate, and do bodybuilding and speak Spanish. And I don't know how to do any of those things. So what?
It's supposed to be Renaissance man. Right?
So what do? You either start pretending, right? That you're pretty savvy.
We get good at pretending.
And so you get good at pretending, or you get good at getting a skill set. Well, which is easier? And so most people are full of shit. And by the time you get there, it's like, where are my heroes? You know, I'm not a fan of men because I see that this is all a farce. And then you walk down the road a little bit, you get into a real room, and you're like, that's the thing that attached me to jiu-jitsu at first and fights. Was like, my coach was like, well, what do you like about this so much? And I go, there's no fucking lies on the mat. The mat is 100% truth. And it doesn't matter what car you drove up in. It doesn't matter who your old lady is. None of that matters. We can see right now.
It's like jiu-jitsu powerlifting too. There's no lies there. Can you pick up the weight or can't you?
He's right.
Did the weight move?
Well, one of my coaches that is like, helped me with meditation a whole lot. He's like, it's not a gradient. It's a pass or fail. And it's like you said, did you lift the weight or did you not lift the weight? Did you show up to the gym and do the work or did you not do the work? Did you sit and meditate or not? It doesn't matter how good it went. Did you go through it? Because consistency is what wins. Not like I did a ton of work and I moved a mountain today. That never wins. That guy never wins. It's kind of like that old axiom. I don't know where it came from. Somebody smart probably said it, but they go, hard work will beat the shit out of talent when talent refuses to work hard, right? Every time. I'd rather have a hard worker. I'd rather have a guy that'll suffer and won't quit than a guy that has some talent that he never really polishes.
Also, there's a truism in life is that we always get good at what we practice, right? And everything. And I see people that get really good at making excuses. It's like it's like the 7 degrees to Kevin Bacon kind of shit. It's like you can, in an instant, and some people get good at practicing solutions. And I'll see people that are like, they can find a solution. But in the flip side of that coin, a few people get really good at finding a random ass fucking excuse and finding a way to attach this to this that's happening right here. And it's like, wow, that's actually a skill. Yep. If somebody had me try to do that, you have a skill of making excuses. Like imagine if you dedicated yourself to the skill of making solutions.
Sometimes I challenge people and I go, don't complain all day. Anytime you see yourself saying a negative thing or a complaint, shut it down and just see, and then notice how your day is different. And then you'll also notice, because you don't know, because it's habitual, how much you complain. Like it's, yeah.
Hey, man, I have a habit of whining to myself sometimes. I don't get like road rage. I get road whine. I like whine to myself in the car. I'm like, what am I doing right now? Fuck it. If I had a microphone in the car right now and I'm whining at these people in traffic, I'd be so fucking embarrassed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I got to check myself, you know, like, because it's not like, you know, you got to kill the old man daily. That's a Christian saying.
Yeah.
I got to kill the whining little bitch inside me every day.
Yeah.
I
What
whine
did
too
Jesus says? I die every day. I'm reborn every morning, and that's
Yeah, it's a Bible quote, man.
yeah.
Huh? You're never, you know, when you find faith or you turn over a new leaf and you become something new, that isn't a permanent state. Every day you have to fight your own demons all over again.
The man who walks into the door of the gym won't be a champion. The man who walks in the door as a student, if he stays that same student he was on day one, well, we've wasted the year of classes, right? It's like that kind of thing. Like the ego has to die every day to regrow into a new thing that's greater than what it was. Because the last guy won't be able to sustain the tremors of what's to come, right?
Yeah, every day's a fight, man. I mean, and we know.
And so that's the thing too, pivots. Seeing how long, you know, here's the other paradox is like, see things through. Know when to let go of that thing and all of that. And like, and that's really what happened with watching Keith go from, like, we go from fights and then we go from grappling. We go into real fights. We go into stunt work. We go into becoming actors. And then he goes, there's no agency here either. It's great to be at this party, but like the thing that I would have given a finger for 10 years ago is the thing that I'm pulling away from that doesn't make me. And so then he starts to write and he goes, if I'm not in creation, what agency do I have? I want to play different parts. I'm going to have to create it. And so then he starts writing like around when I got hurt, like, and prolifically, like,
I saw that trailer. The trailer. It's terrific writing.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
everything he writes
believe it.
it's like riveting. But so then this movie gets made, Kill Me Again, that happens because it comes up during the writer strikes and everything that was going on last year. And he pushes together through goodwill and intention and then going, I need to write a story. So he writes a story in real time in that moment to be able to fit into this space where we can afford to film it and fucking makes it happen in 12 nights. And
that trailer was captivating, man. Like, it's available to the public right now. They can look up the trailer, Kill Me Again.
Yeah, the trailer is out. I think I'll post it on my Instagram later. We're just, you know, we're cavemen over here. And so we're trying to figure out how to make it so it's not compressed in a way that Instagram takes it. It's different than YouTube, right? But our links will be on our pages and all that. And then it'll be out streaming on all platforms on the 8th. And we're doing a couple premieres in like LA and New York before then, but then it'll be streaming on the 8th everywhere.
It's like when I saw it, it's like a cross between Groundhog's Day and American Psycho. Like if you like either of those movies, really visceral, man, you got to watch.
It's great.
It's Kill Me Again. You got to watch the trailer.
I never thought of that hook, but that's pretty good. It's basically Groundhog's Day from Jason Bateman's point of view.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then it's like and then it's just like everything. It's like, what's better than being able to play with all your friends that you've known for decades. And so like to have Michelle Watterson is in it with us, like Cowboy is in it, Donald Sanchez. Everybody comes through with a piece to play in this kind of thing, you know? It's dope.
Yeah, man, it's just a lot of fun. It's been an accumulation of like years and years of suffering and work and putting things together. And this, what we're doing right now is just the apex of all that. We're on this media tour for this thing that we put together and is released. We're in theaters on August 8th, and wherever you get it, Amazon, Apple, wherever you rent, we're there, man. But it's a fucking fun movie, dude. It's not a good movie for a MMA guy, whatever. It's just a fucking fun movie. You're gonna watch it, you're gonna enjoy it. It's really twisted and dark, and it's like I said, it's Groundhog's Day, but the Bill Murray character is basically a serial killer, and we're having a lot of fun with him and torturing him. My guy Brendan Farr, the actor, he really world-class actor, man. He really took this role seriously, man. He went method, he went crazy, and he did this thing, and we're really going to shock the world with this. It's like something that this group of like-minded people are putting together doing. We're having fun making films, making stuff with our own crew, our own people, and I'm putting my people in it, and it's just, I'm just so excited right now. Like you said, like every day is suffering and every day is a fight. Well, in a way, right, when you get used to, that's one of with these rites of passage, with fighting, with military, with whatever, like you talk about everyday suffering, but it's really not when you come to accept suffering, right?
Right. When suffering is your living room, you're like, here we are in the day. And then you don't have to complain about you're just doing the goddamn thing.
Yeah.
Well, I differentiate between like pain and suffering. So pain is necessary. So I think the right term is pain. There's every day in your life, there's going to be a pain point, physical, emotional. There's something every day will happen that's painful. Suffering is necessary and valuable because it teaches us stuff. Or pain is. Suffering is not. Suffering is not productive because suffering comes in 3 forms: past, present, and future. So suffering about your past is regret or embarrassment.
It takes you out of the present moment, where there's the only place you can live.
And it does nothing for you.
Yeah.
Suffering in the present is a longing for it to end or a frustration that it's not. A longing and frustration, that's current suffering. It has nothing to do with pain. The pain is there regardless, but the suffering is your longing for it to end or your frustration that you can't fix it. And then future pain is fear of the future or anxiousness about what's going to happen. So none of that is suffering is not necessary.
Well, and it's not real.
I'm going to change the way I say that because that's really, really smart, really cool. How about just living and being comfortable, being uncomfortable?
You know, Dr. Peck, he wrote a book called Road Less Traveled. On like the first page, he goes, life is hard, period. Once we accept that simple fact,
It's not anymore.
everything else becomes easy, right?
Yeah.
It's like we don't have to comment on the thing that's like, yeah, this is the water we're in. Now let's go.
Yeah.
I look for dudes and people that can laugh at the ironic absurdities of the tragedy of this life, because life is tragic for everyone. It always ends with death, but along the way, it's a beautiful comedy, and whether you can laugh at that or not is gonna, in large part, dictate how beautiful your life becomes. You know, it's I always like I can't stand. I'm sorry, this is a strong word. Can't stand is a strong word, but people that just cannot laugh at hardship. And, you know, when you look at like fighters and people in the military, the dudes that do the best, because all of that's hardship, is the dudes that can just fucking laugh at themselves and the situation they're in while they're going through it, you know? Some people can't fucking laugh, man.
There's a great story about 2 brothers that are they live in the woods in a cabin together, and one guy, you know, they come out and it's snowy, and one guy's always like, God, look at all the glitters and all the different when you look at the snowflakes, and they shine, and this looks like diamonds on the trees, and this is just amazing, and the Christmas is there. Isn't this wonderful? And like, it's going to be cold like this for another 3 months, and then it's going to be slush, and then the fucking mud, and then and the one guy looks at everything awesome, and the other guy looks at everything as this kind of a drudgery, right? And they're going for a walk, and they're walking along their frozen lake outside, and they're going, and the one guy is complaining the whole way, and the other guy is going, oh my God, this is beautiful. Imagine there's fish that live underneath us right now. Still, this is crazy, this trip that we're on in this world and the stars. Like, wow. And then they both fall through the ice and they die.
They both end in the same place.
And one guy had a really nice time.
Yeah.
You know?
I have a real life story about that, actually. And this is like the first that I started thinking about the power of your mind. So we're in ranger school, right? And we're in the mountains of Georgia, and I lucked out. I got there in the fall time, so it's pretty, like beautiful weather. Snows a little bit in the morning, but the afternoons are pretty. And the mountain, climbing up the mountain sucks. When you get up there, when you're not doing shit, there's a lot of times in ranger school you're just not doing shit, and you got a lot of time in your own head. And I'm just looking at how beautiful this is. And then like usually they don't give us any time to eat. Like you get like 2 minutes, you got to eat your MRA and fucking like go. But for some reason on that day, like we had time. So like, you know, MRAs come with that little heater. Like usually they come with a heater. It's a chemical heater. You pour water and it gets hot. And then you stick your food pouch inside of it so you can eat a hot meal. Very rarely in ranger school do you get to eat your MRE hot. You tear it open, eat it. Because you get like, they literally give like 2 minutes to eat one meal a day, right? So, but for some reason we had time, and I'm using my heater in my MRE, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome, because after this I can stick the heater in my pants and keep warm. And we had our fucking boots off, and I feel a breeze, and I'm like, this is amazing. And the dude next to me is eating this with his boots off, eating the MRE, the warm MRE, and he's saying out loud, he's like, man, he's like, we got 3 hours of sleep last night. After this, we got to walk all night. I haven't had my patrol yet, and I hadn't had my patrol yet either, because that's where you get graded to see if you pass the phase. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, fucking shut up, man. But then I'm like, he's going to fail. Like, he's like, you know, the person that suffers earlier than they need to suffers more than they need to. I can't remember who said that, but maybe. But I'm like, oh my God, mate, that's the key. Is just like when the hard shit, like when they say get up and walk, I'm not going to walk 20 miles. I'm just going to get up and start walking. You know, and then I don't know why it took me to that point in my life to be like, holy shit, like we're having two different experiences right now.
I remember there's years ago where the there was a thing put out by the SEAL teams where they wanted to have less attrition. They like, how do we get more members into the teams? How do we build the teams up more? And so they had the instructors change to be more encouraging or something like that, right? And so when guys were like, I got to get out of the water or whatever it is, I want to ring the bell, and they try to talk them out of it. And these are some fucking inspirational men that will talk you out of it. And they said, but every guy that had decided, I got to go, and they gets taught, every one of them washed out. Like, because there's a conversation that happens before he decides to go, and his brain has already made him so tired and more into the I quit. And I thought that was really interesting. Like this human potential of when I've decided I'm done, you're fucking done. So you better be careful about what you're thinking about.
You guys know you'll be in the middle of a fight with somebody and you'll know that dude has already lost the fight in his mind, has already quit. Right?
Absolutely. But what's interesting about what you said about that little scenario there is it's about everything we've been talking about. Like you were sitting there thinking about your little victories, right? I'm going to use a heater. I'm going to use a heater for this. I'm going to eat this. I got to do the thing. Where the other guy's like, I got to go do this thing. He's thinking about the end goal. And like that mountain's like too big to climb, man. You're just doing these little things. All mountains are too big. Wherever you are in life, just in that moment, enjoying these little, however far down you are, just enjoying the little fucking moments.
I heard this guy talk about anxiety or worrying about the future. He goes, worrying is like paying interest on a loan that you might never take out.
Yeah. The best thing in fighting is when you see the guy, when you see them start to unravel because they're fucking tired, like you whatever, and you see that look in their eyes. It's like, and I see it coaching people, and you see it fighting people. Is that self-talk is like, well, I'm fucking this tired now, and it's the first round. It's only going downhill from here at the second. How am I going to get to the third round? And it's again, you're looking to the end right there, and we see that.
It's funny, you can see that, and
yeah.
Well, you can see it because you felt that. There's nothing that feels fucking more horrible than going, I played myself. I didn't get my conditioning to a point where my body doesn't quit on me. Like, that's your fault. And after that happens one time, you don't ever want to feel like that deep water again.
Said, fatigue makes cowards of us all.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One of my favorite, I'll tell you a fight, I haven't said too many times. I was fighting Forrest Griffin. And when I knew I won that fight was in the first round. We were fighting, and this is towards the end of the first round. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, oh, he's tired. This is all happening in like a microsecond. I'm not.
Forrest Griffin was in good shape too, man. That dude was normally really conditioned.
He kind of overtrained and all that. So he trained so hard. He's tired. This is a conversation I had that happened on my. He's tired. Look. Yeah. No. He's tired. Am I tired? No. I'm not tired. No, he's tired. That's awesome. All right. And that was
something about the MMA that we're never going to get back, man, because it was like the Wild West then. So the training styles weren't standardized. Like the science wasn't there. And like, everybody's just like feeling their way through. And it's like just raw dudes that bring a different skill set to the ring. And it just wasn't as polished, like it was crazy to watch that,
I did this on a podcast before. I don't know if it's that as much as there's fighters and there's athletes, right? Especially when you come from when me and Tate come like we're just guys trying to prove something to ourselves and trying to do this thing, trying to fight other skilled people and trying to prove to ourselves and everybody else that we're somebody. Because what better way to do that than winning a fight, right? And to conquer those demons within ourselves. And we're real fighters. We're in there to do a fucking fight. There was no like guaranteed money or superstar. Like I made $200 on my first fight against a superstar. And now people. And now you got fighters still. You still got the Max Holloway's fighting tonight. He's a fucking fighter. You still
that's why I love Chuck Liddell. And then no hate on Chuck. That dude was not an athlete. That dude was a fighter.
Exactly.
Like, Chuck was a fighter, man. He's
a hell of an athlete too. But
I would always say back then.
That dude's a brawler, man.
I was like, there's fighters and martial artists, and martial artists are precious, right? That's not that way anymore. I don't feel, but that was the way I would look at it. Yeah.
But now you got guys get into the sport. Some guys that are just like, I'm not going to play football. I'm going to do fighting because I'm a super athlete. I'm the best athlete in my class, and it's just a sport to them. It's not really a fight. How do they game this fight so they can win? Where me, like I could have had a lot better strategy to win a lot more fights a different way, but I just wanted to fight the motherfucker, and I wanted to do something enjoyable for the fans.
Yeah, I remember. I try not to fanboy out when I get on this shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of hard sometimes, because you want to, have a conversation with people and not be like a fanboy.
but it's pretty cool.
I thought you knew that when you walked out and you're like, oh, I didn't know you'd be here. I was like, that was a shock to me too. I was like, oh fuck, I fucked up.
No, it's so cool. It's a surprise, man. I was like, holy fucking shit, this is cool. Yeah, I knew you guys were friends, but I didn't know you were going to take them with you. Yeah, it's super cool, man. We're probably going to run out of time here soon. Normally, the adult in the room keeps me on time, and you know, we didn't talk about your story as much as I'd wanted to, but
it's no big deal. It's way more important if it seems kind of lessened to talk about my film, but if you want to support us and what we're doing, man, and have a fucking good time, like check us out on the 8th, wherever you get your stuff, man. Kill Me Again. It's a hell of a good ride.
And you're in it too?
Yeah. Of course he's in it.
Yeah, hell yeah. Do you guys, you know, I'll let you guys close out with something. Tate, is there anything you want to say to like close out or talk about, or anything that you want to tell people?
I just, you know, all this stuff is a privilege to be, and you can't, you know, it's like you look at life and you're like, oh, what's your history like? Like you can't get here from there. It's like there's faith in that, and it's like you said in the elevator. Yes, what would you tell you know the quintessential question? What would you tell your younger self? And it's like that it's gonna be okay, you know. And I don't know. That comes first to my mind because it was like I really didn't feel like it was gonna be okay for a long time. I thought, you know, your future is like it's prisoner welfare. It's like they're not, and to try hard in those moments. Don't lose your moments. You know, it's that's the big thing. Is like is stay in your moments. And they talk about like Taoist priests and stuff that live to 120 and shit. Why? Because they live in the eternity of the moment. And I think that's a beautiful thing to strive for. And it's where the juice of life is, you know. It's like where you can be present right here, you know, with people, with what we're supposed to be doing, which is connecting. I think, yeah.
Man, that's a great way to close it up, man. Live in your moments, man. Yeah, one must imagine Sisyphus happy is one of my favorite quotes. You know, like.
Well, I never heard that.
That's good.
Like Camus, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I love that.
You got to read the whole paragraph, man. It's so beautiful.
Kim was beautiful.
Yeah, I love his quotes.
Imagine Sisyphus happy. You got to. Yeah. What's the alternative, right? And that's the thing. You get to choose in this motherfucker. Like how you want to feel about how you want to feel about whatever it is you're up to. It can be. It's like the John Dodson story. Wherever you see John Dodson, he's smiling. Doesn't matter how bad he's smiling, and that's a choice, man. And you get to do that. And what that is also not only a gift to your own soul, but it's a gift and a testimonial to everybody around you that's in viewership of that. And that gives hope. That gives faith in a different way. You know, there's a kid. Here's the thing to close. Maybe I don't know. Keith's probably got something too, but I think about I was at this gym. It was like outside in the fence. My friend at Deuce Gym talking to this little gangbanger kid that was like wanting to be an actor and all that. And he's like, well, what do you think is the best thing that I can do? And there's 50 people working out around us, and he's tatted from the eyebrows down. You know what I mean? And he goes, what do you think is the best thing I can do to, you know, for acting and stuff like that? And I go, heal. If you heal. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, like you got to develop yourself in all these ways, but you got to heal your little kid. You got to heal this core of where everything else emanates from. And if you don't, you won't find yourself very useful and you won't ever be very comfortable. And he goes, well, I want to stay attached to that so I can draw on my history. And I go, bitch, how easy do you think healing is? That pain will be there still. You know what I mean? And you don't forget that. And he's like, well, you know, then I'll just be wearing my heart on my sleeve. I go, bro, you're worrying about what other people think. I go, if you and I start bawling, crying right now, who here is going to say shit to us? Like you can be okay and safe under that umbrella, no matter what. You're an authentic human having a human experience here. You know, I love that saying that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. Well, look to your spirit a little bit. You know, we do God's work here on the ground, helping each other out. But fucking, you better live with that childish faith of in the sky of like, I'm connected and I'm taken care of, and this is for a better purpose. And I can't see it with my finite mind. But I know that if I do good, it's going towards good. And that has a cumulative effect of a snowball, I think.
Have you read a lot of the Bible? Or do you just, that's funny that you say that, because the Bible tells you're supposed to go to God as a child. It says that. Right? Yeah. It is funny how sometimes we just feel the truth of the gospel in our soul. Universal truths, for sure. And the Bible says that you're supposed to go to God as a child. And that's why God loves children so much, because they're pure and they're honest to themselves. Man, it's just funny because I was like, man, it's just funny. Like the truth is in us, you know. It's funny. Yeah. Keith, you want to say anything, close it out?
Just kind of the theme. These are the moments, right? Whatever you're doing, whatever you're struggling to do, like the hard times is what you're going to remember fondly. When you look back when you're, So enjoy those moments, man. It's not just a struggle. This sucks. I'll never get there. Just like enjoy where you're at and just keep working because, and smell the roses because these are the moments that you're going to look back on and say, Tate, remember when we were trying to do these movies and we were struggling doing this, and remember how excited we were when we got the stunt job.
Get a couple week run on or something, and driving to work just geeked.
Yeah, pumped, pumped. Yeah, those are the moments you try. Yeah.
The other thing is I'll say this is that I never knew. I couldn't have imagined as a youngster, even in my what knowing somebody for a couple of decades would mean to me, as far as that when you say to do hard things, you do those things together. You have been witness to these things in you, and to know somebody that way is fucking incredible. What a gift, to not be missed out on. And so this thing about like who's around you on the road, I mean, it's nice to curate that person to be a person that's got your values and your ambition, like all that stuff. But like, man, don't lose that, like take care of that. And that's the thing is without self-development, without inner insight into yourself and trying to correct where you might have misstepped and consider that even, you lose everybody around you. Your ego overruns and you see people like that shed new skin and they have all new friends all the time everywhere they go. And it's like, I talk to guys and go, hey, what's your oldest friend? Oh, I've known this one guy for 2.5 years now. I'm like, stay away from you. Like that's dangerous, right? And so that's the thing too, is like these things that I never thought would have a value became like the most important things in my life, It's a trip. It's a trip. Yeah, anyways, thank you.
Man, I know we got to wrap it up, man, but I expected great things from this, and with Keith being here and the conversation, the road we went down with it, I knew you would be a good conversationalist, but exceeded my expectations if that was possible. But well, man,
thanks
so
for
good,
the
man.
space.
Made my whole day, brother.
This is dope. Yeah, and I can't wait till the next one. This is just the beginning.
I appreciate you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks, brother.